Tell me when to start. Hi, I've come out in the garden to do this today. In our downstairs toilet there is a three-legged stool. It holds up all the magazines that one day maybe I'll read. And it just reminded me of something. Paul says that there are three things that remain: faith, hope and love. And I spoke a little bit about hope last time I did one of these, and I just want to think a little bit about another leg of the stool, about faith this afternoon. Faith is about belief, it's about the frameworks that we live by, but it's also about trust, and it's about what and maybe who we lean on. And it's easy to trust when things are going well. It's much more difficult to trust when things are difficult. Faith is always a challenge, because at its heart it's about something beyond knowing for sure. But the writer to the Hebrews said this, said, faith shows the reality of what we hope for. It's the evidence of things we cannot see. So it's always beyond. It's always a challenge. And then Peter, who was Jesus' right-hand man, talked about how important and in fact how precious faith is when he said this: so be truly glad. There is wonderful joy ahead, even though you must endure many trials for a little while. These trials will show that your faith is genuine. It's being tested as fire tests and purifies gold, though your faith is much more precious than gold. Some of you may know that Joy's dad was a goldsmith, a watch case maker, and he had a workshop at home, and there were duck boards all over the floor. And the reason for that was that when he worked with gold and silver, quite a lot of little bits of metal ended up falling to the floor. And about twice a year, he would take up the duck boards, sweep up everything on the floor. The metal was mixed with dust and all sorts of stuff, and put it into a little furnace in the fireplace. And he would melt the gold down using a gas burner. And it made a fearful noise, and in fact it made the whole house shake. And Joy said as a small child it was really quite frightening. But what it did was melt down the gold, burn off the dust and purify it enough so that it could be sent off, so that he could get his value back. Well, that's what Peter was talking about our faith being refined in difficult circumstances. And when Jesus was speaking with his disciples before his death, he said this, he said, don't let your hearts be troubled. Trust in God. Trust also in me. Now, of course, that me is Jesus. And if we can't trust him, I don't think we can trust anybody. And it's not necessarily that the circumstances we face get any easier. But like a small child puts its hand into its mother's hand to face a situation it's not familiar with, so Jesus invites us to put our hand into his in situations that we're not familiar with. Why a three-legged stool? The thing about a three-legged stool is it will stand up on any surface, however rough, however uneven. That's why faith, hope and love are always the most important things.